Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Rico Mandel with us. He is founder and CEO at the Rico Group and Mison PL in the greater LA area. We're going to have fun talking about gastronomy and businesses in the gastronomy field. If we're lucky, we may talk about industrial manufacturing as well. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start or scale your own podcast, monetize your own podcast, you can go to podpire.com. Rico, welcome to the pods. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
All right. Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be here, Charles. Um, up to so many things. Right now, we're just going crazy, getting ready for our first trade show coming up in a week, actually. And I'll be speaking at the trade show, and it's the Travel and Adventure Show, and we're busy. Essentially, it'll be the first time that we actually put mise en place in 3 dimensions, where you'll be able to see products and you'll be able to see experience some of the cooking classes and tours and video and just the whole thing in a 10 by 20 foot space. So that's been consuming most of my time. Recently, I'm also getting ready to go back to Europe once again in May. And so a lot of exciting and great things happening right now.
Yeah, I see that. So you began your career in photography and in advertising for industrial manufacturer. Tell me about these two things and the why, the how, and the outcome that you've got out of each.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing photography. Jesus, I I got my first camera at 7, developed my first roll of film at 8. When I was 8 years old, I thought it was magic, and from then I was hooked on photography. And at the same time, I love business. I used to play businessman. My mom enrolled me in movie classes, so I used to, make movies. And I used to watch cooking shows when I was a kid, and had a love of food. I mean, my parents raised us as, don't tell me you don't like something until you've tasted it. And we were exposed to a whole variety of foods and things like that. And I was fascinated with the Industrial Revolution during that time. I loved, I was always thinking about, well, it would be really cool to go photograph factories and to see the workers and to see how things are made, because that was something else that I really enjoyed. So after working, having my first business when I was, I think I bought my first business when I was 19, just turning 20, and which was a black and white rental darkroom custom photo finishing business. And I did that, and I always worked in photography. And after that business, my partner and I had an issue, and that folded, which is what happens when 20-year-olds are running a company, So and I went to go work for an ad agency and learned a lot about the advertising. And I was running the photo department at that time. But and after leaving that ad agency, I decided that, I'm going out on my own. I'm going to go after industrial companies, because that was something I wanted to photograph. And I started calling these guys out of the yellow pages, and I just started the letter A and worked my way through Z, and made a ton of cold calls and kept calling and eventually got work that way. And they would ask me, okay, well, can you make an ad for us? Can you do a brochure for us? Can you do this? And at that time, the stuff that most of these guys have been doing was so bad that I said, yeah, sure, I can easily do that. And in the beginning, with the help of some of the guys at the ad agency, I was able to pull that all off. And then fast forward, I just kept calling on those guys and kept, the thing I liked about the industry was that it was real. There wasn't any bullshit, quite simply. It was, no, people aren't taking meetings just to take a meeting. If they had something that they needed done, then you would talk to them. If they didn't, then they wouldn't talk to you, or they would say, call me back in 6 months or whatever. So I found I had a knack for helping these guys out. I found I had a knack for building businesses, for helping them to market and to see opportunities that they ordinarily wouldn't have seen. So, I kept doing their ads, brochures, photography, design trade show booths for them, the whole 9 yards. When we were able to do when the web came in, we started designing websites for these guys. So that was around the year 2000. And things just kept going. Once the .com bubble burst, then my agency at the time went under. I had to close up. I had to get rid of my employees and close the space that I had, and was working out of the house and kind of moping around. And my wife, after being sick and tired of me, my wife at the time, after being sick and tired of me moping around, said, "Hey, you like to cook, go to culinary school, but become a chef." And I'm all, never thought of that before. And she said, but don't go to some stupid culinary school like Fred's Culinary School, go to a good one. So about a week or two later, I was enrolled at Le Cordon Bleu in Pasadena, and that changed my life. That was the thing that separated me from my business, because up until that point, I felt like I was my business was me. There was no separation, there was nothing. And going to culinary school and going into the culinary world made it so that I was a completely separate entity from my business. And it opened me up to all this other love that I had, which was the whole world of food and cooking. And at that time, being in Le Cordon Bleu, you're learning fine dining and that kind of stuff. So that was, that was the beginning, back in 2003, 2004, where everything just started to change.
So do you still run the Rico group? How do you spend your time nowadays? How do you separate your time?
Yeah, I still run the Rico group. The Rico group is kind of the umbrella corporation that also has Mise Place under it at this point. The Rico group, we still do work for a variety of industrial manufacturers. We take care of all their marketing and advertising needs for them. It works really well. It's very seamless because of all the experience that we have in that world. We make it very easy for our clients, because they can be as hands-on or as hands-off as they want to. A lot of our clients, we haven't talked to them that often. Go on.
Yeah, to me, it seems that the Rico group is like your cash cow. Is it still that way?
Yeah, the Rico group is what funds Mise Place right now. So, so that's my primary source of income. That's what pays my bills. That's what takes care of what we need to.
Right. And what are you seeking to build with Mise Place?
Well, Mise Place, the idea started back in, I think, 2011, 2012, and went through a variety of iterations, and we finally launched it back in April of 2021. So I guess we're coming up on our third year of being live. And, it's essentially my main goal with Mise Place is to create a place where we can which is kind of like all of the culinary desires are under one roof. Because my original thought was, you had to go to all these different websites to find culinary tours, to find wine tours, to find artisan products, and and cooking classes, and a variety of things. I wanted to take the entire culinary world, put it in one place, and build on that. So that's initially what we did. And for me, what's most important is the opportunity to bring people together, to have a place where they can find, where they can connect to the people behind the products and experiences that we have on the website, the small businesses that we have, so that I can help these small businesses to get more exposure, both on the product side as well as overseas, our partners that we have in Italy and Greece, where we can bring that together and and help them to essentially provide more of a locals experience to the guests that they host.
So there's classes in there, there's food, so it's like an e-commerce for food, and you can also buy classes and culinary experiences, even kitchen tools. So it's basically an e-commerce for foodies.
Correct. Yeah. And we also have a ton of video content on there. We have recipes on there. We have, for people who, we're constantly writing articles. So there's a lot of, blog content all surrounded about food and travel.
And why not go with a Shopify as your platform?
We wanted to have more control over the platform. So that's why we started out and we went with WordPress, because there was a lot more opportunity there, because we also have multiple vendors and a variety of things. So, and we wanted to be able to, put whatever functionality that we needed to put to have a better user experience. So that's one of the reasons we went with that.
Are you listed on Airbnb experiences as well?
Not currently, no.
What part of the income of the website is coming from food vs food, or and tools, kitchen tools and culinary classes? How does that separate?
Well, right now the income is pretty much separated. I would say probably about 60% of the income right now is coming from our vacations, tours, and cooking classes. And the other 40% is from the the product side of things. I don't really have a breakdown between the kitchen tools and the actual products themselves.
So you seem like a polymath of some kind, because you're good at many things. Do you find that you bring parallel between your photography business and the marketing business plus the culinary one? How does your brain work with that?
My brain's all over the place constantly. That's why I have people on my team that function in a little bit more of a analytic and goal-driven thing. So that and that's one thing I've learned in business, is to accept my strengths the way that they are, and then find other people to fill in where the gaps are. But in terms of I still do most, like 99% of all the photography for my marketing business, as well as also for Mison PL. I do probably about 60% of the video shooting for the marketing business, maybe 50%. So the photographic, the visual, that whole side fits really well into the into the marketing business. On Mison PL, however, I was doing it all myself. I have a full-time video editor that takes care of that, but I learned that because I want to be in front of the camera, it's much easier to hire videographers wherever I'm at to do the shooting, and that changed everything. That's made it much easier when I'm doing interviews and going to places to get that done.
What did you learn at the Cordon Bleu?
I learned essentially everything that I needed to know, so I didn't have to be a dishwasher when I got my first job in a restaurant. We learned sauces, we learned knife skills, we learned we had a whole multiple courses on egg cookery, making pasta, I learned how to do buffets. I learned how to make wedding cakes. I learned how to make pâtisserie dough. I learned how to make croissant. I learned how to, all kinds of breads. We learned I learned how to make sushi, although not very well, but at least I knew how to do it. Sauces, even how to fabricate whole animals. I got an opportunity to fabricate a whole lamb, and they brought in a giant halibut and, showed us how to do that. Learned how to cook meats, and then we had international cooking and learned a whole variety of international techniques and that kind of thing. So it was very intensive. I mean, I would get to my school started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had about a 1 hour drive to get to school every morning. So I'd do my classes from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then sometimes there were other classes outside of that. And then I ran my marketing business outside of the time that I was in school. So I was doing both.
And what about like excellence and these types of values? Because I believe Cordon Bleu is a two Michelin star or two Michelin forks, I believe.
Yeah, Le Cordon Bleu at that time had a real high reputation for the quality, and it was all around fine dining. And that was one of the things to me that stood out. I did extremely well. I got A's in all of my classes, with the exception of two. My baking was not my strong suit. And unfortunately, during that time, there were the Jewish holidays, and I had to miss a class. One, and on the other one, you miss one class and your grade just drops because there's so much content. But there were a lot of things that I learned in that. One of the things that the instructors kept talking to us was, don't look at the recipe, don't look at the recipe, but here we are trying to get the flavors right. And as I progressed, as I worked in fine dining restaurants and did catering and wine dinners and a variety of things like that after graduating, that's where all the skill really came in. That's where the speed came in. That's where the precision came in. Because just like in my marketing business and pretty much everything I do, I have a much, much higher standard for the quality of the products that I produce, whether it's on the marketing side, or whether I'm making a dinner for someone, or when I was cooking in the kitchen and doing that, or catering. The standards were extremely high because the flavor, everything has to come out perfectly. One of the highest compliments I did, I think the last catering job I did, I was hired to do a Italian dinner for an Italian woman's 90th birthday. And this was, it was a room filled with Italians. She was from Italy. I was nervous. I was making osso buco. I was making risotto and all these things. And I was just, okay, well, this has got to be really high level. And it had been a while since I'd been to Italy. So I made it. And the bottom line of all of it was, she paid me the highest compliment. She says, this is one of the best osso bucos and risottos I've ever had. And I said, okay, good. So I accomplished what I needed to accomplish.
There you go. Wow, nice story. What are your top three goals for this year?
Top three goals is to one of them is to get a lot more exposure for mise en place do through doing more trade shows, and to really bring together more on the Greek side of the thing. And also we're leading a tour in September, Tuscany and Umbria. And that's going to have a maximum of 8 people on it. It's going to be a culinary tour for 9 days. And to, make that a success, and to really pull that, have people come and experience what I've been experiencing in Italy over these years.
How much Michelin restaurants have you done yet?
On Michelin side, I've only worked in one restaurant that while I was working there part-time did get a Michelin star. And that was the Saddle Peak Lodge. That was back in 2008, I think, is when they got their star. And that was a great experience. I mean, I learned how to cook everything there. That was really where I met Gordon Ramsay when he came in, which was great. And that's where I learned how to cook game meats and learned how to cook fish and learned how to really up my game and have both speed and precision at the same time in the kitchen.
And the ones that you've ate, how many Michelin have you ate at?
I've only eaten at a couple of Michelin star restaurants. One was in London, which was fantastic. I mean, the food was spot on. But what really impressed me more than anything is the service. I mean, there's a lot of restaurants that make great food, that have beautiful plates, and that provide that. But that Michelin star service, that is something that you don't find everywhere.
What is it about that service?
It's, it's like watching a symphony orchestra or watching performers on a stage that are just perfectly in sync and aligned with not only each other, but with the audience, so that they all come together, and the service in that level is impeccable. You're never waiting for anything. You're always being served. There's always someone there to fill your glass, to take care of your napkins, to silverware. All of those little details all come together in such a way that is really kind of magical.
Love it. Well, Rico, thanks for today. Where can people find out more about you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, at Mison Plus, misonplus.com. That's Mise spelled with a Z, not with a C. So it's MIZENPLACE.com. The Rico Group, of course, is the RicoGroup.com. I also have my photography website, RicoMandel.com. Those are really all good places to start. And you can also hear me on, of course, on this podcast and see some of the interviews and whatnot that we've done on YouTube.